Good morning, Nashville. We are still frozen, and hundreds of thousands of our neighbors, including many of our listeners, are still without power or heat. We want to start by saying that this is an incredibly messed up situation, and if you are losing it, you are not alone. It was reported yesterday that 2 of our Davidson County neighbors have died, possibly in relation to the storm. Well over 100,000 NES customers are still experiencing outages, and large clusters in places like North Nashville, Bellevue, Hendersonville, East Nashville, and Brentwood. NES continues to call in additional line workers, with 925 workers in the field as of last night, some arriving from as far away as Florida and Maryland. There is no expectation that the power outages will be resolved in the near future. And according to Metro Water, they're also anticipating water main breaks as the ground warms. MNPS has canceled school again for today and tomorrow. We're still being encouraged to shelter in place whenever possible. In yesterday's press conference, Mayor Freddie O'Connell said if you don't have to be out, save space on the roads for those who need it most. Metro continues to operate warming shelters across the city. If you need transportation to reach a warming center, please call 615-401-1712. The 3 open community centers, Southeast, Madison, and the Fairgrounds, have beds and warm meals available, including free food trucks serving tonight starting at 5 p.m. According to the mayor's office, Plaza Mariachi is now available as a warming shelter as well. Please take advantage of these resources if you need them. The number for transportation again is 615-401-1712. If you need assistance clearing up debris, please call the Crisis Cleanup Hotline at 844-965-1396 or the United Way Helpline at 211. If you need to check on the well-being of someone, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations has opened a hotline at 1-800-824-3463. 911 continues to operate with a significant delay and should not be used outside of true emergencies, including down power lines. Open Table Nashville and The Remix continue to canvass our community, providing resources and warm meals for unhoused and immigrant neighbors in need. Other food and warming resources include the All Sorts Lobby in Madison, East Nashville Care Market, and Second Harvest. Please visit their online food finder at secondharvestmidtn.org/find-food. If you or someone you know is providing meals elsewhere in our community, please email us at nashville@citycast.fm, and we will share that information and any other critical messages on our Instagram at CityCastNashville. We remain in an unprecedented disaster for our city. Hopefully the sun will come back out today. We will get through this together. And now, on with the show. Today on CityCast Nashville, making friends as an adult is hard, but is Nashville making it harder? Joining us today is Sarah Beth Schulte, creator of Tip Jar Nashville, to walk us through the many ways you can find your people in our city beyond just going to a bar. We're talking about special interest groups, dating events, sober hangs, community-minded bars, and how to do it all and be home in your PJs by 9 p.m. It's Wednesday, January 28th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Sarah Beth, is Nashville actually a hard city to make friends in, or does it just feel that way?
I really don't think Nashville is harder than any other city. I just think it's really hard to make friends as an adult. You know, you're not in school anymore, and a lot of people in Nashville are transient, so that could make it slightly more difficult. A lot of people in Nashville have non-traditional jobs and non-traditional schedules. Life is just really busy. But I think swap Nashville for any big city, maybe even any medium-sized city or small town. I think this is a fairly universal experience.
So do you think it's exclusively a Xennial problem?
No, I really don't. I think it's an over 25 problem. It's a being out of school, not being around the same people all the time, a post-COVID world where everybody's moving around so much. I do think young Gen Xers and millennials, because we are so transient, maybe makes it harder than previous generations might have had it. But I don't think it's just our age group.
Yeah, I think COVID really messed us up
I think
because
so too.
I love to stay home now.
Yeah, we got conditioned to let's watch Tiger King and make sourdough and drink wine.
That's
And
right. Alone.
yeah,
And what an
exactly.
amazing time one can have. But everyone hates this advice, but my therapist is constantly reminding me this is the first step in meeting people is just leaving your house.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way around that unless you are comfortable inviting people into your home.
Strangers, come on in.
Strangers. Or unless you are fine with virtual friends, which I'm not here to debate how healthy that may or may not be. But I think to meet real life human friends, you have to leave. That being said, one thing that I think Nashville is doing really well recently is offering events and ways to meet people for all kinds of people, including introverts. So even if the idea of leaving your home is a little scary to you, there are ways to do that softly.
One piece of advice that I always get also is just to find a group that aligns with your interests, like a running group or volunteer group. Do you think that actually works?
I think so. I mean, I think it just automatically makes conversation a little bit easier. You have a natural starting point and you're physically doing something, which takes some of the awkwardness out of it, which is advice I've heard a lot for dates too. Like, do an activity, just give yourself something to talk about and to take some of that pressure out. But I also think like attracts like. So not only are you volunteering, for example, with people who care about the same cause, but likely they have broader values that you share and maybe other interests. They may be into the same TV shows or whatever. It just seems like if you're doing one thing that you have in common, then it is more likely that you will also have other things in common.
What are your favorite examples of groups or organizations that you see bringing people together?
I really like these game nights that are popping up. We're like reverting back to the 1940s and everybody's playing mahjong, and Nashville now has a backgammon group. And I think this is a trend that we're going to see more and more. I would not be surprised if there are bridge clubs soon. I just think this is a new old way of connecting with people. And getting rooted. And I think games are really fun because they're contained. A good introvert thing, you're only with the 4 people at your table or whatever. Just easy. If there's nothing to talk about, it doesn't matter. You're focused on the game. So I really like those. And I also really love TEDx. Now I will disclaimer, I do have a partnership with them, but I really love what they're doing, which is the TEDx chapter in Nashville has a membership program. And so they have, in addition to the public TED Talk events that everybody knows about, they have these members only events. So you're seeing similar people. And this is such a cross section of humanity, all ages, really creative people, some of the formative leaders and thinkers in the city, and just like harnessing this creativity. No 2 events are alike. And I just think it's a really unique thing that I'm excited about that they're doing.
Well, I'm glad you brought up membership because we at CityCast Nashville actually do have our exclusive membership program, and it really is meant to make friends. And so folks at home, if you're not familiar with it, go ahead and check out membership.citycast.fm. We're really trying to get out there in the community. We just volunteered at Radnor Lake in December. So just getting out there and making friends. So that's a great way to meet people and keep it at a low price too.
Yeah, and I really think it's the wave of the future in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited about people thinking creatively. How can we turn what we're already doing into something that's not just a one-off event?
Well, so Nashville's obviously a big drinking town.
Yeah.
What are your favorite bars that also feel like community gathering spaces?
I really like the bars with history for this. I do think turnover is something that influences how much this is not my original idea. I got this from Ennis, who runs Nashville Hidden Gems. But I think turnover, when the staff is constantly turning over, then it's harder to be a regular because you don't see the same faces. And so the bars that have been around, like Villager Tavern, for example, it's been owned by the same people since the 90s. It's been in existence in some form since the 30s. So you go in there and you really have that Cheers atmosphere where everybody knows your name. And if they don't yet, they will. And they've got dart leagues. And it just feels like that old divey bar where it's just really easy to just start chatting. So I love that one. And then, like I said, I think the turnover is a big thing. And one place that is new, but does this well of really making people feel like they belong and not having the high turnover with their staff is Gramps Garage Bar in East. And shout out to Haley. I'm friends with her. She's bartender extraordinaire, but she makes everyone just feel like she's their best friend, and you just feel so warm and at home there. And every time I've been, I end up talking to people on either side of me. And so that's another one that's really good.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, my place is East Nashville Beer Works. I talk about it a lot.
Of course.
But, I've made so many new friends there. Yeah. And then also Brown's Diner, OG Nashville spot. But you go in there by yourself. You sit at the bar. You're leaving with lots of friends. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Vince Gill just named his EP after it.
That's right, folks. Yeah. It's a hot place. All right, so we got to talk about dating because that's also making friends. You cover a lot of dating events on your Instagram. Do those actually work?
I can't speak from personal experience. I've only been to one of them because my circumstances change. But the reason I cover them is because I think society in general is thankfully craving more of this in-person connection. And so I really think we're moving away from the apps, and in my opinion, that's a very good thing. And these are just one more way to connect with someone. I think it's hard to go into a dating event with the expectation I'm going to meet my person tonight on this first event. That's just not how life generally works. But I think if you keep showing up and if you keep just trying different things until you find the thing that works for you, you're just giving yourself so many more opportunities to meet someone. Or even if you don't meet the love of your life at a dating event, you meet a new friend and you don't know who their network is. It's just one more avenue for connecting with people.
Just recently, the Blue Room hosted like a secret message dating party.
I've seen that advertised. I've not been.
I was like, Marie, come on, you can do this. And then I chickened out. But you know what? Going forward, I think, again, you got to leave the house in order to have fun and make friends.
I will say about the one dating event I went to, I was really impressed by the bravery of the people that showed up. And that was encouraging to me. Okay, it does take guts to do this. But once you're here, everybody's nice.
Right.
At worst case scenario, you had 2 hours of your night talking to some nice people and you go on. It's okay.
Right. And I learned later that the Blue Room event sold out. So there's lots of people showing up at these places.
Yeah,
so keep an eye out for those in the future because it seems like they're doing them more and more often. So
yeah, I agree.
How do people find out about these dating events?
Well, they follow me for one thing.
That's right. At the Tip Jar Nash on Instagram.
I think just good old fashioned Google, I know off the top of my head, at least 4 or 5 groups that are doing these routinely. Thursday Dating is one that does it almost every Thursday. Jigsaw does one. They do about 6 or 7 a month. So there are all these different groups that are doing them, but that's not counting the one-offs like the Blue Room thing you're talking about. So I think just finding, whether it's my account or others that are talking about what's going on in Nashville, just Googling because they are out there. Urban Dog Bar does sometimes. So that's a great one if you're a dog owner. So they are out there. You just got to look for them.
Mm-hmm. Put forth an effort, people. Yes. That's what I'm telling myself. All right, so let's talk about the elephant at the bar. There's a fine line between finding friends and hitting on women that a lot of men seem to be confused about. What's your advice in terms of navigating that?
That is a good question. I think people are very good at reading intent and picking up on subtle cues. So I think if you approach a situation, hey, this person just seems interesting. I just want to talk to them and see where it goes. Most people, I think, are going to be responsive to that. And I've noticed even with friends, this is a little bit of a tangent from your question, but when I have asked a friend on a date, just a stranger that I think you're kind of cool, I'd love to hang out sometime. it's always received well. And so I would encourage people, even with friends, to be bold and just ask them on a date and it'll be fine. But romantically, I think just going in with no expectations, I just want to talk to this person and see if we have something in common, if we click. I think people respond well to genuine interest and pick up on ulterior motives pretty quickly.
To ask the when Harry met Sally question,
Yeah.
Can men and women be friends without the sex part getting in the way?
So I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I don't think they can, except in a group setting. Obviously, like if you're just part of a crew, absolutely. But one-on-one, really close, deep friendships, can it? I have one male friend in my entire life who we were always truly platonic. There was never anything else. One in my whole life. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying in my personal experience, it is very uncommon.
Well, I will shout out one of my guy friends that I made just a couple years ago. I went to Zany's solo because one of my favorite comedians was performing. I sat at the bar. A guy was laughing at the same time as me. And at first I thought it was like a little bit of a romantic connection. But then we ended up going to a bar after that. And he said he was seeing somebody and I kind of was seeing somebody. So we ended up just being friends and we still are friends today. And it may be because of the age difference, because I'm too old for him. And I'm like, nope, not going to go there. But I mean, we're still really good friends. And that's a great example of, you know, going to do a special interest of yours. And even if you can't find somebody to go along with you, go by yourself. And then maybe that's where you can make friends too.
100%. And I think something that when I was younger, I had very black and white thinking. And so I was like, if I go to this event and don't meet the love of my life, or if I go on a few dates with this guy and we don't end up getting married, then it wasn't worth it. And as I've gotten older, I've seen not everything works out the way you expect it to, but that doesn't mean it wasn't valuable or doesn't really enrich your life in going forward in many ways, just not necessarily the ones you expected. And sometimes it is the way you expected, and that's great. But just being open to all different outcomes.
Yes. No expectations is the best way to live, folks.
Yeah.
Is it possible to find your people if you're sober here in Nashville?
Yeah. And I think it's becoming easier all the time, which I'm so grateful for. I always say my brother is sober. So I always say I'm a sober ally. So, you know, I think a lot of these events, whether it's the game nights or craft nights or dating events or whatever, even if they're hosted at bars, they don't really have to do with drinking. So you can go and get a soda. You can go and get an NA beer or whatever, because you're there for the activity, not for the alcohol. And if you really want to connect with people who are sober or sober curious or sober minded, whatever, Killjoy, Nashville's NA bottle shop, they have a lot of events. There's a mocktail bar. It's called Hi Y'all. That's in Creve Hall, and they do events, and it's just a really warm, nice space. The owners are super great. And then there's another group called Still Social. And that, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds. They're like, hey, just because we don't drink, we are still social. So they have all kinds of events as well. So I think you can definitely do we'll call them mainstream, for lack of a better word, events and not drink. And you can find your actual sober people through some of these sobriety groups.
All right, we're going to play a fun game of lightning round. I'm going to shout out a category and you're going to tell me the best place for these things. Best place for singles.
Well, as an extrovert, I do most everything solo anyway, but I do love the TEDx membership that I just mentioned because it just exposes you to such a wide variety of people, and you can meet someone to date, you can meet friends, you can meet business contacts. It's really great.
Best place for couples.
There are lots of dinner clubs around town, and I think anybody can go to those and enjoy them, but I think they can be intimidating to go to solo. So those are really fun ways for each person to have individual conversations and couple conversations.
What about introverts?
Book clubs. I love the book clubs. There are silent book clubs if you really want to go into your cocoon, and then not silent ones. And even if you're not a reader, then I think the game nights that I've talked about can be really good because they are more low-key.
Sports ball people.
There are lots of leagues. I'm not a sports ball person, but there are a lot of leagues, and there's a lot of wellness groups, running clubs. A lot of breweries are affiliated with a running club. So Sandbar has a volleyball club. So I think that one, if you just do a little Googling, that one's pretty easy.
What about LGBTQ plus folks?
Maybe this is too obvious, but Lipstick Lounge. It's one of the few remaining lesbian bars in the country, and it's a great time for everyone. Got karaoke. Randy Carlisle shows up all the time. And they just opened a sports bar out back, Chapstick, which I love the name.
I just recently went to Chapstick by myself and just sat at the bar, and I made 2 friends immediately. And they were there by themselves too, and visiting from out of town. So it was just fun to kind of talk about Nashville. And this woman was asking if, she should move to Nashville. So I was telling her all the reasons why, and then all the reasons not to. When you're out exploring Nashville, how do you know when a place or a group is actually good at building community?
I don't always know for sure, but what I'm evaluating for is this filling a hole? Is this going to appeal to a certain group of people? It doesn't have to be what I think, this is how I would meet my people, but is this going to be a way for an individual, whether they're an introvert, whether they're part of a couple or not, whether they love crafts or would never pick up a paintbrush? I think Nashville has something for everyone. And so I'm always trying to look for, can somebody plug into this? And if so, if this is a good opportunity for unique niche interest X, Y, and Z to find other people that share that unique niche interest, then I want to help spread the word about it.
Are there any red flags for you in terms of people or groups you do not want to be friends with?
I think my biggest red flag is cost. I don't think cost should be a factor in your ability to meet friends and get to know people. And obviously, everybody's a business. Everybody's trying to make ends meet and pay their own bills. So I'm not saying make everything free. I'm just saying if the barrier to entry is so high financially that it's not available to most people, then that's not one that I would probably promote much. They can do their own marketing and find their people, and that's fine. But that's not one that I would probably focus on.
Sarah Beth, I want to go to the fantasy balls. Have you seen these being advertised? Those are my people. Those are my friends. I know it, but it's like $275 to go to one of these things. And nope, not going to do it. I'm going to have my own fantasy ball at home.
Yeah, I will say for those, I mean, I don't read fantasy, so that's not my thing, but I know they hire a lot of actors and like...
Oh, I'm available. That should go.
That's my in.
All right, there you go. Next time I'll be there as a fairy. All right, your tagline for the Tip Jar Nashville is, because we still want to have fun, but also go to bed at a reasonable hour. So here's the most important question. What's your number one spot where I can meet people and still be in my jammies by 9 o'clock?
Honestly, most of the things we've talked about fit that criteria. The craft nights, the book clubs, the workout groups, they're all going to be earlier and you get home and crash and it's delightful. But I also really do love a happy hour to meet people. Everyone's kind of like decompressing for the day. They want to chat. Drinks are cheaper. And again, even if you don't drink, get a soda and an appetizer. It's fine. And just talk to the people around you. And then you go home and maybe that's been your dinner or just a little snack or whatever. And you go to sleep. So the bars I mentioned earlier are great for that. Cherries in East Nashville is another good one for talking to people. That one skews pretty heavily female. So if you're interested in making girlfriends or whatever. And then Barrel Proof in Germantown is also a go-to for me.
Folks, go ahead and follow at the Tip Jar Nash on Instagram because you're constantly posting. And then also your website, you update constantly. So if you're looking for these types of events, check those out. Sarah Beth, thank you so much. I hope to be friends with you.
Thank you, Marie. You are.
This is how I make friends too.
We just need to run into each other more often.
That's right. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!